Ready. It's 8 o'clock. I will call the Wednesday, November 9th transit meeting to order. Roll call, everyone that's present except for Richard
and John
and Gretchen. Hey, Gretchen. Approval of minutes for the October 12th meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion is made second. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Passes. Public comment? None. Okay, staff reports on Austin.
Okay, Transit Commission meeting, Wednesday, 11/9/22. Agenda for today: ridership, financials, grants, a few updates there, electric bus update, staffing, and on the route. Okay, ridership. Everything stayed pretty steady, or if not increased. Doorstop and Red Cedar ridership decreased just a bit from September to October, so only down 2%. Community route ridership increased, 795 in September and 966 in October. So we had a half a week there to almost a full week of students not being here. So that first Wednesday of Stout. So that right there can be the increase, and just more awareness from brochures and students understanding how it works with some of our trips that we did with some of the SSA and anybody who wanted to see how it worked. And then the Stout route ridership increased from just below 13,000 in September to just above 13,000 in October, up 4%. Looking at how the routes stack up to previous years, the community route was way above 2020 and 2021. We're looking back to 2015 to 2019. It still has a little ways to go, but what we did a couple semesters ago for the Stout route is we got rid of a bunch of breaks during the day for the Stout route, which probably caused a little bit more overflow that students would use the community route because there was about 7 to 8 less loops that the Stout route would do per day. One at 10:30, where the bus would go to Irvington and back, Downsville and back to burn out the DEF particulate filter. At 2:30, the bus would come back to base and fuel. That's done at the beginning and end of the day. So I think that right there is just more is getting done with the Stout bus. Doorstop route is still a little shy of previous years, but some of that lunchtime ridership is now getting counted on the Red Cedar route, which is 4th best ever. So you put those together, the numbers are pretty strong. Stout route and Stout PM route. Adding these together, we're up in the 13,000s, and we're right back to where we should be for numbers pre-2020. All these are sitting right around 14,000. Looking back, 2015 we're at 16.5, 16.4, but that number's looking good, and another best ever for the Stout PM route in October. But it took a little from up above for starting at 430. Okay. Expenses to 1031. Nice thing is in October we didn't have really any buses in the shop. We had a few oil changes, and I don't foresee anything big coming. We took care of that a lot during the summer to make it so the buses could stay on the road. And barring any big thing, this number will continue to get better through the end of the year. Only thing not received, 25,000 or so October staffing. You put that in here, we're still sitting 11% for the good through the month of October. Revenues through 10/31. The only other thing not in here is the 2,000 or so in October agency bills that we haven't mailed out. And then most of these are stuff that gets sent to us quarterly by twice a year. Passenger fares are sitting at 68%, but after you add those back in, it's looking a little better. And having these strong months of doorstop and red cedar really helping. Okay, everything in purple is new. So skipping down to the city of Menominee, I went to the council meeting on Monday. Everything was rocking and rolling for subsidy. I just spoke on it a little bit. The increase in community ridership, and it's good for our subsidy adoption for what? Subsidy what? Yeah. Yeah. I was debating trying to come up a little bit with an increase, but from what I've seen sitting through previous meetings, it's a bit tough. So we'll try to bite that one off. Yeah, I agree. And then working through the state 5311 grant that's due here about a month from today. And then UW Stout, we had a summer meeting with them, and we also had an October meeting with them. So we went through a few different things that I'll go through a little bit here. Electric bus update. 30 kilowatt charger was delivered last week. Now, the only thing we are waiting on are the buses to use these chargers with. Staffing. A couple weeks ago, we had some personal stuff with a few drivers and their families and stuff that they had to take time off. Didn't know if they were coming back or not. So we hired on a previous driver for us, and who was filled in, but then now we've got both of our other drivers back. Now we have a bit of a surplus of drivers, which is better than not. But now it's just keeping everybody busy and getting them the hours that they need. So it's great to have the crew that we do, and for the one driver to come back in and hit the ground running with driving for us up until 2020. So, on the route, on the Stout route and community route, the students have a Qualtrics survey that they can submit from their phone of any complaints or feedback or questions. And from May to October, we got one complaint, second week of the Stout route, and bus was getting full. Driver was rude, yelling back to people, got to make room if more people want to get on the bus. And the same thing happened in the loop. We talked to the driver right away that day and explained a little bit better way to convey the message. But out of the loops that we do every day and the loops per week and per month, it's good to see that this was the only one. Happy to see that. Okay, on the route, Stout put together, I put these in slides, it'll be about 6-8 months ago, but now these are the final versions that these will be up in every bus stop. And I just took some snippets of what the vinyl is going to look like. And some of these talks about how to ride the bus, what you can bring, service animals, shopping cart, what bus should I ride, where do you need to go, when do buses run, call, that's Stout loop, some of the stuff the community route goes. And then the doorstop service. So that is open to everyone now. So we take a Scout student to her job at Mayo every day, or up every day from the Heights, right on the south side of town. Scout route, weekday schedule, community route schedule, community Saturday schedule, and the map for it. QR code, track the bus. Okay, that takes us to, this is once every 4 year. Wisconsin Peer Summary Performance Measures. This is 16 pages long. I just took a couple snippets. The last time this was done, Kent was the transit manager. So a lot of this data goes from 2016 to 2020. So I said, we have all the 2021 data, and that would be be very beneficial, considering we made a lot of changes for reporting on some of this, especially the stuff that's outside the satisfactory range. It'd be nice to see what improvements those have made. But this data is a little old, but still pretty interesting to dive down into, see, and especially see where we're stacking up compared to the rest of the state. And operating expense per passenger trip, we're the best in the state. Hugely to do with high volume Scout ridership. Outside satisfactory range is operating expense per revenue hour. A lot of these ones that were outside the satisfactory range is revenue hours per capita. Everything is based on revenue hours versus driver on duty hours. Well, how we previously tracked revenue hours is it was estimated before I came here. It was estimated on, okay, it takes 15 minutes, let's just say, for example, to get to the Scout Red Cedar Hall. Then on the community route, they started the clock at the beginning of the day, not when the driver got to his first stop. Well, with us doing all routes on our equal lane dispatch software, it tracks to the minute, not counting against us until we get to that first stop, starting our revenue. Compared to the bus starts at 7 a.m., the driver gets there. We don't get to Red Cedar Hall on the community route till 7:37. So that's 37 minutes every morning that we are now saving in our tracking. Same thing with the doorstop break. The driver punches out now for an hour instead of counting against you every day, an hour. It's going to be huge, but we can't see that in graphs because this data is 2016 through 2020. But still interesting stuff to see, and I'll go in more depth to this when we get updated data with them when we go through this here in early December. So great information. This also goes through agencies that are around our size around the nation. And looking through COVID and 2020 numbers, it's nice to see how in some of these we haven't dropped off as much. Some of the good aspects, ridership wasn't affected as much as some agencies and some of the other municipalities. So very mixed bag, but a lot of the issues stem from operating expenses per revenue hour and revenue hours per capita. A lot of the stuff that we've done a lot better job tracking in the past couple of years that we put into effect I think around June of 21 to put different routes on at different times last year. But so it'll be great to see how those have made improvements
You said the next round of that is December?
I meet with them
You meet with
again, and they have a big checklist of stuff for us to do of
Okay.
how we track this, what we have for buses, people. It's a big, it's kind of like our 5-year compliance site review, but this is based on the stuff we see there. And then we put this checklist together and have it back to them, and we all go over it together the second week of December. So I'm excited to see, and I hope that we can rerun this report with all the 2021 numbers and really see how 2020, 21, and back to 2017 come together.
So on one of your slides, you had that on the routes, not counting south, that they didn't need a CDL. But for the south route, they needed, what's the difference between that?
15 or more passengers.
Or the size of, okay.
Yes. So, and it can't just be, a driver hops in a bus, and as long as they don't have, 15 or more passengers, they can drive that bus. Otherwise, we would have just pulled a few seats out of our other buses.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be 14 passenger from the factory. So that's why we got this bus from Kentucky. And then that's why these 2 electric buses that are coming are configured like that. There are 12 seats plus 2 flip down rear seats or 2 flip up rear seats and 2 wheelchairs. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. And on the Stelt route, especially 842, 942, they're getting 42 people on the bus at once. So they're getting 1,000 a day.
Wow.
Stout PM route, we've even pulled our 14 passenger for the most days off the route, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Fridays are slower, Mondays historically are a little bit slower. Days are a little bit slower.
Thank you.
What would you need flip down seats?
That's so they can do, 2 normal seats or 2 wheelchair positions in front of those.
Oh, okay.
Those are bolted right to the back of the.
All right.
They should be pretty handy. With the way that those are configured, though, in our Kentucky bus as well, 2 wheelchair positions are next to each other. So the dispatcher has to remember if that bus is on the doorstop route and 2 wheelchairs are on, the second person on has to be the first person on at their stop kind of thing. So one thing to keep in mind. Otherwise, they'll be unstrapping both. And there's not enough space to move around in there.
At one time we talked about fares and adjusting fares.
Yes.
Have we ever looked into what other places charge or into any of that stuff?
No, but I think we should.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
See what other places charge for some of those things.
I think
good idea.
I can make some calls, and maybe we put.
Not that I'm looking at the revenue thing, but I'm just,
Right.
maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I'm sure on the revenue side either, but.
I think
other places are charging.
Yep.
Maybe we should know what those are.
I think it would help a decent amount because we're getting to the point with the doorstop and Red Cedar route where we're hitting our plateaus based on our service hours with how many people we can take. So to help with the supply and demand, we increase $1 or $2 per ride, and I think that bridges the gap. We've been putting the numbers on passenger fares up here, and based on previous years, and we always try to hit the right around that 40 to 45,000 mark, but we're still coming out of that rough time. So
if you got time sometime, maybe like I say with more drivers, maybe you won't have to drive as much. So look into that a little bit.
Yep.
See what you got for us.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Are the 30 kilowatt, is that open and installed then too?
No. Excel is scheduling that.
Okay.
Right away when he found out that it was delivered, he's in a rush to to get it taken care of too.
I have a feeling it'll get installed way before the bus go in.
Yeah, yeah. That's a 1-day install too.
Yeah.
It's already conduits ran and everything.
Well, you're prepared. I think would be, and I don't know historically, but it'd be interesting to look back to see where the city of Menominee will share if that has ever moved. I mean, that might be the original figure when this started. Last night, the Director of Sustainability at the student government did propose 3% increase for their next fiscal year for the support of the Dunn County Transit Agreement. The student government will vote on that in December. So they did a 3% last year as well. That 3% is painful because they're also hitting enrollment drops of 6%, so it's a little more painful.
Oh, decent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to commend Austin. I know all of you guys are hard workers as well and step up to the plate, but Austin really did it with kind of a triple whammy on a Monday where like suddenly a bunch of his staff were just gone. So he had to came in his own evening route that week and finished it until he could get kind of his staff. So shout out to him for
It worked. It's kind of calming too, you know. I get to come in a little bit late to the office and drive the Stout PM route. It's a low stress route. You just listen to the radio and do a few figure eights around town. Yeah, it worked out. And then we're back on track trying to get enough hours.
Hi, Justin.
Nope.
You two can outfit by each other.
Anything else? Any other questions? We're good. I guess we can adjourn. Yeah. Okay, we'll call a highway meeting for the November 9th meeting to order. Roll call shows that we're all here. Approval of minutes. Everyone have a chance, I'm sure, to read it. Second. Motion made second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Public comment, anything, Dustin? Nothing? Okay. Items placed at the request of the chair, nothing. Staff reports, commissioners report. Dustin, have at her.
Still writing yet.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Okay, so this is the commissioner report for the November 9th, 2022 Highway Committee meeting. Some of the agenda items we'll be looking at here is highway shop operations, construction projects, highway staffing, the WCHA Winter Road School Conference, and then the highway financials. We'll just start with some of the highway shop operations or daily operations that we do on a daily basis. So our County Road Z project down by O'Galley, from County Road C to C has been completed. Open to traffic. We did complete the pavement markings, just center line only, the sign installations, and we are looking at installing some guardrail on there right now. Looking at getting that contracted out at this point in time, just due to the complexity of it. So there is a few things that we have to complete, but it is open to traffic currently. The O'Galley salt shed, the precast walls and all the paving with this project is complete. The contractor has actually started putting the hoop roof up, started yesterday actually. They are looking at being completed with this salt shed by the end of the week is what they're telling us. So it should be up and ready to supply salt for the winter months. The plan is to take our state truck that currently comes out of Menominee, and it will be coming out of that O'Galley shop, just due to the simplicity and being able to react and respond to snow operations a lot quicker. So we are hauling salt sand to all the outlying shops for the winter season. So we have that completed. All the salt sand has been made. All the towns have come in, got their portion that they needed for the winter months. So we're ready to rock for winter season. I guess if we have to keep it here and not use it, I'm not opposed to doing that either. So.
Will Sanker get theirs?
I have no idea. I don't see that every operation, but I'm assuming they have or haven't. I don't.
Just wondering. I heard they were dragging. Whatever. Doesn't make any difference to me. So
I think we haul that too.
Oh, do ya?
I believe so. Okay. Mowing forces have started, so we are making one pass throughout the county. I have expressed that I only wanted one pass right now, not going fence line to fence line. The biggest reason I want to do that is I want to see the cost, what it's costing us, so I can kind of compare mowing versus spraying operations. I'm going to have a discussion with all of you this spring on what we want to do with our whole mowing operation. So that was the big reason, just to kind of take one pass right now and see what it's costing us, so we can kind of determine what we do going forward. It is much needed. Like I said, I'm not 100% sold on the spraying. It works in spots and it doesn't work in others. But so we're gonna trial and error is basically what it is right now. But we're looking at completing that our mowing operations here probably in the next couple of weeks. We are touching up some lime rock shoulders on the county roads. We are doing a little bit of ditching. We did have a culvert that was damaged by the utility contractor that put in some underground utilities that they damaged one of our culverts. So we are fixing that this week.
You're paying for it?
We are charging them. So, and we continue to everyday spray patch and pothole patch at this point in time until it gets to a point where it's too cold and we can't do it. Roughly about 25 degrees is when we stop doing that. The shop operations, so obviously we have all of our trucks ready to go. We do have a few of our backup trucks that are getting the plows and all the attachments put on. But that we're ready to go. All of our trucks on our state system have been calibrated. Make sure the sanders are all making sure that we're putting the right quantities down based on the gauge controls. So that's pretty much up and ready to go. We are doing staff are completing our year-end inventory of all of our parts and field supplies, guardrail, culverts, erosion control, concrete. Every nuts and bolt that comes through this facility is all accounted for. So we started that process, and usually takes a couple of weeks to get through that process. So
does that count towards your positive on the financial? And how do you reconcile that? You know, because you got equipment on there and parts that would cost money, expensive. You'd have to purchase it, but if it's all already on hand, that's a plus.
So, yeah, so basically, if we have backup parts or anything like that, it goes to an inventoried item. So it's a cost that we have. We paid for it sitting there,
Okay.
And we do not basically, if we put it on that piece of equipment, that's when we charge it out to that piece of equipment. So a lot of like our culverts, it's a inventory. So we buy it all in one lump sum, and then once it gets charged out to wherever it goes, that's when we charge it to that particular project or town or whoever purchases it. So our engineering operations, so we continue to inspect our structures under 20 feet in length. Lee is working on doing that and wrapping that up very, very shortly here. We are inventory our year in pits and quarry materials. So we did obviously recently got completed with Haas completed our crushing operations in our Finder quarry. So we do have approximately 50,000 tons of material sitting there, plus whatever left over from previous. So every year we inventory that to make sure we have the appropriate quantities, since it is a very large asset to the highway department that we keep track of. I just wanted to show, this is a few pictures of the salt shed. I did have recent photos yesterday that were taken with the actual arch, metal arches that are above this foundation. But that's how it's going to look. Basically, it's going to be open-sided with no door or anything on it. The walls there are 10 feet tall, and then we all will be putting about another 10-foot piece where it goes straight up with the arch, and then it'll arch after that. So 1,000 tons of capacity salt or salt sand will be able to use in this facility. Some of our projects, obviously our County Road Z project, I talked about that, is completed. I did submit a LRIP reimbursement. We did have local road improvement dollars allocated to the County Road Z in the amount of $197,839.96. I did submit that for our asphalt materials. So we are waiting for that reimbursement request to be approved on the DOT level. Not all roads have LRIP dollars into it. We'd like to try to have at least one of our road projects every year have LRIP dollars. So we do spread it out throughout multiple years. So this particular project on County Road Z did have the LRIP dollars allocated to it. So those are a few pictures of the finished roadway on County Road Z. I think it turned out very well. We do have to do a few things, like I said, odds and ends, just with some guardrailing. I will be looking at putting white edge line paint on it next year. The reason for the absence of that is we unfortunately had to get the contractor in there to paint because I was afraid of the temperature in October, what was going to happen. So we had him paint center line and center line only, so we could shoulder the gravel shoulders with our own crew without wearing the paint off. So that's the reason for it, but there will be white edge line on it next year. County Road B project, so we had a meeting with the Union Pacific Railroad engineers as well as the Wisconsin DOT on October 26th to go over the railroad crossing and the preemption of our traffic signal installation at Badger Drive and County Road B, which is by Love's and Senex there. It wasn't a very, very good meeting. The unfortunate thing is I'm not going to get too excited about it quite yet, but I just wanted everybody to be aware. There was some miscommunication between the DOT and the railroad, which this was supposed to be done a year ago. All finalized plans, everything were supposed to be done a year ago, and the outcome of this meeting was basically nothing was done. So Union Pacific didn't know anything about the traffic signals. They didn't know anything about the preemption. They didn't know anything about it. So that was something the DOT dropped the ball on, in my opinion. But I won't point fingers at this point in time.
Is that going to slow a project down then?
Honestly, the Union Pacific Railroad in this meeting said you can bid it, but it's at your discretion. It may or may not happen that the railroad crossing upgrade gets done. So that throws kind of a wrinkle in the system. We do have another meeting scheduled here the next week, Friday, to go over this in a little bit more detail. From what the Union Pacific Railroad said, this process takes about 14 months. We're trying to get it done in 3 months at this point in time. So we're going to play it by ear. We're going to continue like the project's happening next year. There may be some things that we may have to change. I have talked to the engineer that is designing it. If something, our County Road B South project, south of the interstate, it has to be done next year. Otherwise we lose the fund. So I told them at a minimum that needs to get done, and we can worry about the railroad crossing, all that stuff, maybe the next year after that. So we have to do something. It's maybe not going to be the most cost effective, but like I said, I at this point in time, I don't want to lose the federal and state funding we have for the B project. So like I said, there's more information to come, but that outcome with that meeting we had wasn't too. I wasn't a whole lot of like it was going to happen possibly with the railroad and the DOT. We are looking at continuing forward. As of right now, the letting for the B South project is February 14th, so that's through a DOT process. When the contractor would be selected to supply their bids for the project. The B North project is looking at kind of the same time frame, right around that end of January, early February.
So when you start that project south of 94, are you do like one side at a time and leave the other side just like a single lane for each way to keep traffic moving?
Yeah, so it's bi-directional. So basically, we would shut the southbound lanes off and have everything on the northbound lane. So okay. Northbound, southbound would be on the northbound lane. Flip it. So there will have to be a crossover in through the median. Our intent was to put it north of the railroad tracks where it turns into single lanes. That was the intent. If the B project north doesn't happen, we may have to look at other ways of crossing this over. So it can get a lot more complicated. But like I said, right now we're planning that the project's happening full steam ahead for next year. So the last project is the County Road STP Rural project. So this is the project that was through the DOT. Project has been completed. Haas and Sons completed this project, so they were the prime contractor on the project. Turned out very well. As you can see, there's some pictures of the final product. We did a final walkthrough on the project on November 2nd. Myself and Lee, our county engineer here, walked through it with the DOT and the construction engineer, and didn't find a whole lot. Everything turned out very, very well. So next step is just for us to start seeing the bills to start paying our 20% portion of this project.
So projects like these are submitted to the state, and then you might get it, might not get it.
Yeah.
Can you average one a year, or is that impossible?
Typically, no.
But that would really help on the project, but I get like 4 or 5 miles every year from the state.
So we usually get an STP project usually every 4 years. Is a pretty typical standard. Like I said, every county is trying to
get that money,
get the same money. So.
How long was this one? Oh, what distance?
This was 2.3 miles. 2.3 miles and just over $2 million to construct it.
$1 million.
Yep. So, any questions with the projects?
Will you get that LRIP for sure in 22?
Yes, the plan is it takes approximately 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
We did have a particular issue with the reimbursement. We ended up putting less asphalt material thickness down just due to the sheer cost of the asphalt this year. On the application, it was a 3.5-inch asphalt thickness, and we put 3 down. So we have to go through the hoops. The DOT is going to reissue a new state maintenance agreement. Then we got to reissue the reimbursement request. But that's been basically completed. Just so we'll be seeing the money here in probably the next 2 to 3 weeks. On to the highway staffing. So we did have a operator that was transferred from our facilities department, actually transferred back to facilities. So we did have an open operator position. So we did fill that position. Actually, the individual started this Monday. So we are full staffed currently with our field and maintenance crew. We are looking at the possible transition. It's to a point where we're trying to get some front office staff help up here. Obviously, it's myself and Lee are the only individuals that are up here right now. So we did look at bringing an individual out of our parts room. We do have 2 individuals there, and then we kind of reevaluated what their position was in the parts room. We are looking at taking one of our parts employees and transitioning them to a financial position, which would be coming out of highways. The employee would no longer be a highway employee, it'd be a financial employee. And they would be basically in our front office doing financial duties, cross-training with other financial staff, as well as doing the same duties that this individual does currently with our financial piece in the parts room. A lot of invoices come in and out of here, so that's a full-time job in itself with all of our parts and contractor invoices. So like I said, that's in the process right now, what we're looking at trying to do. And our last piece there, I don't want to say it, but Lee, our highway engineer, is resigning. The last day is actually this Friday. He is going back to his previous position with the DOT.
Really?
So sad to say, I don't want to see him leave, but it works out better for him and his family to go back to the DOT. So we are looking at the possibility of, with this departure, and that's something later in the agenda, but looking at maybe changing the title of that position from a highway engineering superintendent to a assistant highway commissioner position with the same duties, but just a different title. But we'll go over that in a little more detail. I just wanted all the committee members to know, so there is a Wisconsin County Highway Winter Road School highway conference scheduled for January 23rd through the 25th in the Wisconsin Dells, Chula Vista Resort. I don't know if any of you have gone to that in the past.
I did, I have.
But like I said, that's an option. I just wanted to let everybody know, whoever wants to attend, let me know. Preferably by the next meeting in December, so I can schedule hotels and registration. No, it's more of a financial piece, what highways do, any type of state funding, federal funding, just to get it out there and known. So I feel it's quite a learning experience in some things. A lot of it is some review that I've seen multiple times, but it's still good to know. There will be a lot of vendors there that will have plow trucks, financial software, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Some of it is a sales pitch, I will admit. But yeah, January 23rd through 25th. If anybody's interested, please let me know.
Our hospitality room.
Yeah. And the last piece here is the highway financials. You can't read that, so I tried to put a Not on the actual PDF, but I did it's called 6E. So that is our highway financial report. The big thing is I just wanted to, that I look at is right now we're looking at a approximately $400,000 positive budget, year-end budget is what we're looking at based on our current spending and forecasting. Obviously the winter months are coming up and we have a lot of stuff that's out of our control when it comes to plowing. But if I look at our expenditures on our county winter maintenance, we have budgeted of approximately just over $1 million, and we've only spent $322,000 of our county winter maintenance. So we're sitting pretty good there. Obviously, depending on how our winter starts, we could be spending a lot of money with fuel costs and all that stuff too. But right now, we're overall the highway budget is faring very well. We are looking at a positive budget at the end of the year, and that's all we can hope for.
Mm-hmm.
So, good. Any questions regarding the financials?
Did you get hit hard for the 2023 budget? You know, you put in what you want to get, and by the time it's approved, did they take much out of it or not? Too bad, Jim. So sometimes you bring in and each department's got to cut back.
Yeah, so nothing's been approved yet, but as of right now, everything.
So like next week is our budget. Right now, everything you asked for, you're getting, hopefully?
Yes. Okay. At this point in time, that's not to say it can't change, but.
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, the increase for next year's budget is one of the biggest things. Like I said, our construction need is huge. With the D projects happening and our other projects, fuel costs, obviously, equipment costs are skyrocketing. Like I said, everything, material costs, 50% increase from last year to this year, just in material costs in some aspects.
Can you bid your fuel the whole year, or you take it by a month? I mean,
so we bid out every load that we take. Okay. So every purchase we bid it out, and we currently are only receiving one bid.
Really? Why is that?
Just the supply and demand.
Huh.
So a lot of the local ones don't want it. They don't even bid on it. So
less than market, right? And then why would they sell it to you?
The biggest thing is for us, when we bid it, we need the fuel basically by tomorrow. That's the way we do it. We don't. A lot of it is the scheduling. They can't do that.
They got short supply in trucking too.
They do. They have problems with trucking.
Oh.
So right now we do sometimes get two vendors, but it's usually one.
Really?
And they've always been typically the cheapest. So we were looking at the possibility of changing some things. I know other counties do it differently where they buy local. So they might say whatever, Synergy or whatever is local, so they'll just buy it directly.
So with your big fuel tanks, do other departments come and then like do that then?
Yes.
Like the sheriff and like.
Yep. All departments at Dunn County utilize our facilities. Okay. Maybe not all the time, but there is 90% of the time. Okay. And we charge those departments accordingly. So
a little markup, I hope.
Make money on it, don't
you? we do. It's considerably cheaper though than what you see at the pumps. Okay. We are typically, because we don't have the federal tax in it, as well as the state tax. We do pay state tax, but not for our off-road equipment. So we have to get that reimbursed at the end of the year. So. Yeah, it's a complicated system, and I know it's not ideal, but we're trying to bid it out every load, but makes more work for us. It gives everybody an equal opportunity, though. way I look at it. So.
Okay.
Any questions with the highway financials?
Anybody has anything? Okay, go on to item 7. Approval of vouchers. Anyone have any questions? I didn't have any. If not, is there a motion to approve? I move we approve. Second. Motion made and second to approve the vouchers. Is there any other questions on it? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. 7B, crushing operations and equipment.
So I finally got some answers, obviously, regarding our current equipment status. So we solicited, we contacted Airing Equipment. That's who basically supplies a lot of the crushing equipment in the area. So we touched base with them and to get a rough estimate on what our current crushing equipment is worth in their eyes, basically on a retail value, based on our age and our hours of operations on it and everything. So that's what I supplied here in 7B. So this is what they're saying that equipment is what it would retail for currently. So the big thing is that Pioneer Jaw, that's their main crusher operation. What they're saying is they could basically get $350,000 for that piece of equipment. Not to say that's what they would give us for it. As they noted, these are what they would sell it for. That's not what we would get for it. So obviously there was some things that they were not interested in. There was a couple like that genset trailer. It's a very old generator, a semi that we have a semi trailer that it houses a generator in there. That supplies everything. So that's a very, very old unit with a lot of hours on it. So they were not interested in some of this stuff. But they did still give us a price on what they feel it's worth. And I'm not saying we're selling it to them. We're not doing anything. I just wanted a value of what this is worth. On the second page is basically, this is our value of our equipment with depreciation taken out of it. So if you look at the big ticket item that Pioneer Jaw, that 3042. So if we look at our portable jaw crushing, basically there's, with all of our depreciation, what we paid for it originally at $352,000, all the depreciation is valued at $52,000 currently. We look at that portable jaw crushing plant. So I guess what I'm looking at is, that's not to say if we go out there, that piece of equipment is only valued at $52,000. Yeah, if we look at based on when we originally bought it in 2005, and we take all the depreciation, use, hours, everything out of it, that's what it's telling us is that piece of equipment worth in today's value based on depreciation. So we have a book value of a lot of this stuff at about $245,000 for all of our equipment, crushing operation equipment. As I noted before, some of this stuff is seeing its age. Obviously, the portable crushing plant is 2005, which usually the lifespan of a lot of this stuff is, they always say that 10 to 15 years. Not saying that is, but a lot of the everyday use, which this is not. So if we could say you get 25 to 30 years out of a piece of equipment, that's basically its lifespan if it's not being run on a daily basis.
But they still think they could sell it for $350,000.
That's what they're saying, and that's what we paid for it basically in 2005. So looking at my way of thinking is, I do not like equipment sitting idle And unfortunately, this piece of equipment and all of our crushing equipment sits idle for a year. We usually crush every other year. We did have Haas come in this year and crush for us at a cheaper cost than what we could do it for. So I guess my recommendation is, what I would love to see is we explore the option of either selling this equipment, trading this equipment in for other equipment. We do have other needs. We do have dozers, we do have loaders, we do have backhoes, we do have stuff that we utilize on a daily basis, that we have needs for. This equipment sits idle. Like next year, this equipment won't run. We crushed this year. So that's my recommendation, is we try to explore selling it, trading it, and we outsource our crushing operation when needed.
Can I ask how many different companies are out there that will crush?
So when I requested that information to other counties, so St. Croix, they hire it out.
They do.
There was approximately about 6 firms that will do it. That's not to say that we will get the same. But I know locally, we have Milestone, we have A1 Excavating, we have Haas, and Check. There's multiple firms. Haas has expressed to me that this is the first time they've ever crushed lime rock material. They are more than happy to come back, is what they told me. They would love to come back. Not to say they will, but I'm just saying we're kind of at their mercy right now, that maybe they had a lower cost just to get their foot in the door. I don't know.
That would be my question. Is there any indication from them on what projected cost will look like, next summer or whenever you crush it? I'm assuming it's a better weather. You're not going to crush during the winter, probably, right?
No. So typically, what they like to do is fall or spring. They will do it in the winter. Obviously, that's when they're slow, so they are looking for work.
And that's why I brought that up. I would think that they would,
get
material out of the ground, prepped, and so they can get it.
And the way we would look at it is, if we would bid it out, we would do it for like a fall crush, where they would be looking for work to extend that their employees as long as they can. Like I said, we got it right around $350. It was $350 a ton for them to crush it. What we were looking at is right around $4 to $4.15 a ton for us to crush it this year, based on our numbers. That's not to say that $350 won't go to $450. I can't say that, but if theirs is going up, ours is going up.
Yeah, I mean, you got a big difference there. I guess that's the number I was looking for in my mind, is how much savings was there, and
the biggest savings I see is we don't have to invest money into our equipment. Breaking down, putting fuel in it.
I guess personally, feels like, why wouldn't we try to get rid of equipment that isn't being used if we have the availability to upgrade some other equipment, that is needed on a more daily basis.
Correct. And like I said, we could explore trading. We can explore selling it outright on our own. We can look at it that way. So the money could be utilized, whatever, to bring back our fund balance. We could buy equipment with it. We have other needs. I mean, like I said, our plow trucks. Our entire budget for 2023 is basically in four plow trucks for equipment.
The company that you got the estimate from, Ayers?
Aaron.
If you would trade all this stuff in, because then you got it all done, do they have equipment that we could use, like new, to put this trade in towards equipment? Do they sell equipment that
Yes.
we could
So,
utilize?
yeah, so they have basically all kinds of equipment. They sell dozers, backhoes, they're a company that does construction equipment. Yeah, and that's not to say we have to do anything with airing. We can.
No, it'd be nice, like you said, you trade it in, then it's all done, you might sell like the popular ones of equipment, you might have stuff that just sits there and never does sell,
Correct.
you know, so something to look at.
Yeah, there's options that we could put on an auction site.
Mm-hmm.
Where we could distribute it nationwide.
Yeah, I was curious about, you know, some of these current crushing operators, you know, like you mentioned, Haas and those, if they would have any, possibly, you know.
When they toured our facility, they were interested in purchasing. They wanted to purchase the whole kit and everything.
Oh, no.
Equipment,
Yeah, we probably better hang out.
Yeah. But, yeah, they were interested in the equipment. Like I said, my philosophy is we don't utilize it enough to justify having it. If we had our own asphalt plant, if we had our own, where we're selling it to the public, where we're utilizing this piece of equipment day in and day out, but we're not. It just sits idle for a year, maybe two. And that's the worst thing you can do for your equipment is let it sit idle.
Yeah. It takes a little maintenance to get it running.
Correct.
Every other year. I mean, you guys spend time on that.
And like I said, that genset, the generator that runs the whole operation is got a lot of hours on it. And if we have to buy that, you're probably looking at a couple $100,000 just to purchase that generator.
So I personally think it's a no-brainer, but
So we need to make a motion.
yeah, it's a action item. So.
Like I said, I want your support before I do it, and that's.
And then you'd come back before the committee when it's all, you got like a deal all set up to get you okay, or?
Yeah, so like I said, we can explore other options. We can trade it in, we can sell it outright, we can do whatever we want.
Come back with some hard figures so we got something that looks
correct.
Like
so like I was saying, if we put it on an auction site, let's say, and we feel that we need $200,000 for that and we don't get it, we don't have to sell it.
I was going to say, you put minimums on it. So
yeah, we can put minimum. So, I mean, the cleanest thing to do is to look if we can trade it in for other equipment.
Right,
that's the cleanest because we have a need for it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess the biggest thing is just getting your support to explore that as basically abandoning our crushing operations. And
so what does the county manager think about it?
It seems like a no-brainer to me. You look at the age of the equipment.
Yeah.
And only to be used really every 2 years.
Yep.
And now this time when you had Austin, it'd really be closer to like 4 years.
Right. Correct.
Right?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have enough material to last us probably 2 years now. Depending on what, we can't forecast if a town comes in and wants to buy 5,000 tons of material. We have no idea. But
I just want to go back to Gary's question though.
Scale up there or not?
we have scales in the loader. Yeah.
I just want to go back to Gary's question though. Because you have it as an action item for crushing operations and equipment. And so if the committee approves pursuing the sale, at that point in time, does it go forward or does it come back to the committee with the offer? It's just so that the committee's there.
I guess my intent was to come back to the committee with an offer. If Arian wants to give us $300,000 for this equipment for a trade-in, I would bring that to the table at that time.
So in other words, you don't want this action item right now. We'd have to wait on it.
I guess what I was looking at is an action item just to say, yes, let's pursue that.
Pursue that avenue.
Okay.
Endorsing the pursuing the sale.
And the
Yes.
motion, could the motion be verbalized that it comes back.
Yep. Yeah. What's your wishes, guys?
Make a motion that we move forward in looking at selling or trading our crushing operations and equipment, and that it would be brought back to this committee with recommendations as far as selling it or trading it, and what that financial situation would look like for approval.
Maybe second. Are there any other questions, comments? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Item 7C, review and recommend proposed new classification of Assistant Highway Commissioner.
So, obviously, with the resignation of our engineer superintendent, I wanted to basically explore the option of retitling that position to an assistant highway commissioner. The big reason for that is to have a succession plan. I feel that if my position, whatever, something happens, the county has a backup plan. Right now, when we looked at the actual job description, it basically covers everything from engineering to assisting the commissioner in his role, his or her role. So what we would be looking at right now is just retitling the position as an assistant highway commissioner, keeping the same job duties, same pay scale. It would just be a retitling for a succession plan if something does happen. I think it's in the best interest for the highway department. A lot of counties are going to that particular situation. Pierce County actually just hired an assistant commissioner role. St. Croix, Chippewa, Eau Claire, they all have assistant commissioners.
And they're engineers?
They also have engineers on top of that, but they do a lot of their in-house engineering.
But this would still require him to do that, or no?
So right now it's not. It's a 4-year. Yes, does not need to have a professional engineering license.
Oh, okay. But you wanted the description to have that job description?
No, the job description would basically be a 4-year bachelor's degree in engineering, or I believe it was business management or project management. Like I said, the job description would stay the same. It would just be a different working title. So it is a process. Obviously, if the committee here would approve that, we would have to take it to the next steps. Obviously, I cannot, if we do a change in title, I can't hire this tomorrow. I can't start the process until this whole title change is approved. So it potentially, this position may not be filled until what we think January if we do this title change.
Yeah. So the process, there actually isn't a specific process to change the title. Basically, it's a process to create a law. But obviously here today for the and then the county board. We would be able to at least get the job posting out there. We just wouldn't be able to make an offer and pay it people, which will probably shake out.
Yeah, I mean, with the holidays and all that stuff, it's probably going to be that anyway.
So how many of your projects do you have to have a licensed engineer stamp it for approval? Because sometimes you go to like a private one, you have to pay some good money to get that engineering stamp
So the only time we would need a PE to stamp anything here is if we would do like an LRIP project, where we're allocating reimbursement dollars. So I have done it in the past where I've hired it out. It costs about $200 to have a PE stamp. So there is options there. Obviously, when I was in that position, I was not a PE. So we did have to outsource the stamping. Okay. All of our plans that we currently do are outsourced already and completed by a PE. So in this particular role, to be a professional engineer is probably not needed. Is it nice to have? Yes, but not needed. So, I mean, that's just a plus. They do have a PE license. So.
Then they could probably get a higher paying job at a private company too, or, you know, if they have that, you know. Is it better like in the spring when they graduate from college, these engineers, for supplying of applicants, or?
Yeah, my nephew's graduating.
He's an engineer?
Mechanical engineer.
I mean, they graduate.
Yeah. So I mean, I just brought that up.
Okay.
So from what we've seen in the past, typically, if you're coming out of school, they seem to gear towards the private sector, to get their feet wet and experience. They'd probably do pay more starting. But I feel that this position is comparable to the private sector when it comes to pay, based on my experiences. So the big reason, like I said, is just to have a succession plan for the county. I know there was a time where the highway commissioner left, they outsourced it, the county outsourced it. To me, that's not the best option. So.
Because I've been on the county board for 12 years. I think there's been 4 different commissioners since then. So it's, I don't know. Maybe your time isn't long here. No, I think not.
Honestly, if everybody knows me, my motto is here today, gone tomorrow. And it could be out of your control.
Yeah.
Sure.
With the engineering title, we get a lot of, or at least a lot of work that necessarily so we would feel that a piece of highway commissioner is a little bit more.
It might open it
well
up.
rounded.
Okay.
A little more well-rounded.
I agree. Anyway, yeah, I move that we amend the temporary class to the assistant highway commissioner.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Are there any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 8, considerations of resolutions and ordinances. We do not have any, it looks like. Next meeting date, December 14th. We are adjourned if no one has anything else.